unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Well, it looks like after a tough fight with Sean Porter, Errol Spence may face Danny Garcia next. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, after a great fight, Sean Porter, Errol Spence unification, it looks like there might be a fight between Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, kind of pre-established. Danny Garcia got in the ring, which, you know, was all too convenient. And now Mike Coppinger is reporting, it says, sources, deal in place for Errol Spence Jr. to defend unified welterweight championship belt versus Danny Garcia pegged for January 25th in a PBC on Fox pay-per-view. Garcia confronted Spence during Champ's in-ring interview with Heidi after a victory over Sean Porter last night. Spence Porter. So the information that he's receiving is that Danny Garcia and Errol Spence could be next. Says Fox is also carrying the next Super Bowl, LIV, the following week, so expect a substantial marketing push for Spence's third consecutive fight on Fox pay-per-view. PBC often lags in announcing fights, but they got it right with Heidi saying Spence Garcia next on the telecast. Listen, Al Heyman is dominating right now. You gotta look at it. For example, Canelo Alvarez, the biggest thing on DAZN, right? He's the biggest star there. He was supposed to or wanted to fight Sergey Kovalev. Now, I get he's fighting Kovalev now, but he wanted to fight Kovalev before Anthony Yarde, which would have made sense because we seen Kovalev versus Anthony Yarde almost get stopped. So had he fought Kovalev, he would have just had a lot of time to rest. Unlike now, he just fought Yarde and he has a quick turnaround with Canelo. But more importantly, we almost seen the man get stopped. So I think that hurt the Canelo-Kovalev fight because most people believe he's not the same crusher. Now, Canelo wanted to fight Kovalev from the jump, and I think it would have been better to do it before the Yarde fight, you know, if they could have got it done. But Kovalev's team said that Canelo paid Danny Jacobs all this money and they got lowballed. So why would he risk his title versus Canelo, you know, a guy moving up, and you were willing to pay Danny Jacobs more, and this would be a historic win for you? It doesn't make sense. And needless to say, Canelo and Golden Boy couldn't get on the ball and get the Kovalev fight before the Yarde fight. So Kovalev's team, Main Events, Top Rank, they said, F this. We're done waiting. We're going to end up fighting our mandatory, Anthony Yarde. And they did it, and Kovalev came through it with a knockout. You know, he knocked him out with the jab. The veteran experience really helped Kovalev, in my opinion. But the point being is, how do you have your biggest star on the whole platform of DAZN and he can't get what he wants? Like, you've never seen this with Floyd Mayweather, the cash cow of Showtime boxing. You know, you never seen Floyd pick Maidana and then people pussyfoot around and the fight doesn't get made. But for whatever reason, Golden Boy couldn't facilitate the Kovalev fight. And making it, like, adding insult to injury, I guess you could say, is the fact that how do you have Kovalev, right? And whatever you offer him now that got him to sign up for the Canelo fight, because no one really felt that Canelo was, or Kovalev was afraid of Canelo or afraid to fight him, right? It was just always about money. That's the reports that I heard. So whatever you offered him now, why couldn't you have offered that to him in the beginning? And then Canelo could have kept the Mexican Independence Day date and everything would have made more sense. So just a quick recap, Tyson Fury and Jaime Munguia fought for these Mexican heritage Mayan belts. You know, Tyson Fury, a UK fighter, versus a guy, Otto Wallen, I believe from Sweden, are fighting for a Mexican heritage belt. Canelo had begged for the quote-unquote Mexican date, Cinco de Mayo weekend, September, Mexican Independence Day weekend, says they were his dates and he wants to fight and he's the rightful owner of those dates, but he had to give them up. For the last 2 years, he had to give up one of those dates. In May last year, he failed a drug test with clenbuterol in his system, 2 drug tests, February 17th and February 20th. So he had to give up the Cinco de Mayo weekend to Golovkin versus Vanes Martirosyan. So we were left again with a non-traditional, big fight with Triple G and Vanes, which was pretty much a waste of time, like we all knew. And then the next week or the next year, Tyson Fury fought Otto Wallen, which it turned out to be a tougher fight than expected. Tyson Fury was cut, etc. But my thing is, just look at the planning. Piss poor planning from Canelo's team and handlers and Golden Boy not being able to deliver. So if we're talking about the year's not even closed, Errol just got finished. This is like UFC type moves, where they're already thinking about the next big fight. Okay, Spence is coming back in January versus Danny Garcia. That's a meaningful fight, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And then they can push it on Fox right before a pay-per-view. Right before Super Bowl, a pay-per-view right before that. The marketing push, it makes sense. And these are the strategic business moves that I'm seeing from PBC. Everything goes in the line. Like for Terrence Crawford, for example, I don't even know who he's fighting next. And he's supposed to be fighting this year in November, December, I'm assuming, because I think October is too close. So I don't even know who Crawford's fighting. So all the people who are going to get angry, because they dislike Al Heyman, a black advisor, and they just hate PBC no matter what. Oh, why is he fighting Danny Garcia? First of all, I don't think it's a bad fight, especially after the Sean Porter fight. Now, I get Danny Garcia doesn't fight like Sean Porter, but Errol Spence, he was in a tough fight. The fact that he was in a tough fight, that changes the perception. That can give other fighters, Terrence Crawford, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman or whatever, Pacquiao, all them confidence, because it makes you look more human than you had previously looked, destroying guys. You get what I'm saying? So I think the Danny Garcia Spence is a easy fight to make, easy to facilitate. And, you're going to have people, the detractors, the usual suspects, old media, try their best to say, oh, I don't want to see that, or this ain't a pay-per-view. Bottom line is Danny Garcia looked exceptional and stopped a guy in Adrian Granados that hadn't been stopped. Sean Porter fought him, didn't stop him. He fought Amir Imam at the height of his career. He dropped him, but he didn't stop him. Granados, Broner didn't stop him, etc. Javier Fortuna, nobody stopped him, and then Danny Garcia stopped him. So one, Danny's coming off a good win. He's a relevant name. His dad is entertaining. So I think it's a big fight, and it's a big fight that can be made and can be made easily. Again, this is the conundrum for Terrence Crawford, because my question is this. I love Terrence Crawford. I think he's, one of the top people in the division, if not the top person in the division. However, the side he is aligned with, they don't have the premier names for him to fight that are easily facilitatable, easy. If Errol Spence, let's say Errol Spence stopped Danny Garcia. Danny got a fucking chin, so that would prove something. Let's say Danny Garcia beat Errol Spence, then, man, he's back on par for a major fight. So it's still a meaningful fight. But my question is this: how could we be mad at Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia on pay-per-view from PBC, but then Top Rank is likely going to give us Terrence Crawford versus Mean Machine? So you tell me what is a more relevant fight for the division. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not blaming Crawford, because I think Crawford will fight anybody. That's the problem. He's willing to fight anyone, but his handlers probably won't be able to facilitate the fights that would mean the most for his career. And then when they had Pacquiao aligned with Top Rank, they still didn't make that fight. They could have made Pacquiao fight Terrence Crawford. So now you have a great fighter in Terrence Crawford not getting the same ESPN push that Tyson Fury and Vasyl Lomachenko is getting. He had an opportunity when Pacquiao was on the same side of the fence as him to fight him, and he expressed, and Bomac expressed, that they were down to fight Pacquiao, and we never seen that same energy from Pacquiao's side. And Michael Conks and Bob Arum admits that he imploded the fight and made sure it didn't happen. So how can we be mad at a fight with Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia? We're talking about name fights. I don't know what the pay-per-view buys were for Spence versus Porter, but it was an instant classic. They are building a star. Whoever wins these fights will have star power. Danny Garcia is already popular, you know? So if Errol Spence goes in with that style and beats him, then he's right back where he needs to be. What if he stopped Danny Garcia, you know? But beyond that, I think people don't gauge the fights correctly. Danny Garcia is no slouch. I don't even understand why Danny Garcia through his whole career has received this level of hate. Motherfuckers still talking about Mauricio Herrera. Mauricio Herrera just got stopped by Virgil Ortiz. And speaking of Virgil Ortiz Jr., I think Virgil Ortiz Jr. is looking really promising. But guess what? Who can Golden Boy put him in there with that shows us how real he is? So once again, we know what this is about. You know, people picking sides and playing favorites, and some of these motherfuckers is racist. We're not going to have that. New media. Again, if you're so angry with Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia, right, and that's such a horrific fight, then please tell me who you think Virgil Ortiz Jr. is going to fight, given the fact that he's an exceptional talent that Golden Boy has. Who can Golden Boy facilitate for him? These are real life questions that you have to ask yourself. Me, I have zero problems with Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. Now, yeah, some people are going to say, oh, I want to see Spence Crawford more, but tough titty, you know? I want $1 million right now for doing what I'm doing, you know? You got to work for it. It's what it is. And I don't think it's Spence is ducking or Crawford's ducking. It's just the politics. It's the powers that be. And I think Al Heyman is sunning Bob Arum right now in terms of like, you don't run the show. We gonna build our fighter like we want to. Just like Mayweather Promotion and Leonard Ellerbe keeps telling you about Gervonta Tank Davis. They're branding their fighters. These fighters, Jamal Charlo and Jamel Charlo, Lions Only Promotion, they have a fight card in Houston coming up. It's coming up right now. Al Heyman is giving people gems and showing them how to make a business. Al Heyman can't fight for you. He can't make you have a win, but he can give you opportunity. Look at John Molina Jr. John Molina Jr. was supposed to be on the Pacquiao-Thurman card, pulled out, and then he got right back on the big card. You know, this is a guy who lost to Broner, was losing every round to Mickey Bay, stuff like that, lost to Terrence Crawford by stoppage, and John Molina Jr. is still getting love, you know? And he just fought Jose Cito Lopez on the big card, got a paycheck, supposed to fight Victor Ortiz, but he caught a case. Different things like that. So I think Al Heyman this is what making people mad too, is he's giving people gems and helping them establish themselves as brands and branding them and building them up. Not every fight is going to be the best fight in the division. You know, how many fights did we watch Jose Ramirez versus, you know, guys who weren't considered the top 140? It wasn't like Jose Ramirez versus Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, and Maurice Hooker right off the bat. We just now got the Maurice Hooker fight, but before that he was fighting Zepeda. That was a tough fight, etc. So I don't understand why PBC is held to this standard where every fight has to be Crawford, Spence, otherwise it sucks and I don't want to see that shit. But then you look at the other promotional outfits and we're getting, like I said, Jose Ramirez versus Mike Indeed Reed and Jose Zepeda and Tyson Fury versus Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin. Like, let's keep the same energy and spread that love. If you're that critical of every fight, then I want to know some of these other promotionals, like Jaime Munguia. Name somebody like a Danny Garcia that he's fought. If Errol Spence fights Danny Garcia, he was just in a tough fight. You know, that could have influenced and inspired Danny Garcia. Name somebody who has a Danny Garcia resume that Jaime Munguia has fought, and they had the momentum that Danny Garcia has, the popularity, the name, etc. So, you know, people be capping on this internet, but I'm here to tell you what it is and what it ain't, and the honest truth. Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. It might not be everybody's first choice, but it's still a good fight. Danny is no slouch. I don't understand why he's been received this way. You know, like I said, people still talking about dumb shit. Rod Salka and Mauricio Herrera was robbed and shit. Bro, that was like decades ago almost. You know, that was a long time ago. It's what have you done for me lately? Errol just unified. Danny just looked good and stopped someone who's never been stopped. And this is a fight that they can easily make. No bullshit, no splitting the pot with other promotional companies. And that's what people would do. Like, the bigger issue to me, we doing this new media shit. I told you we coming to take over the game. Is How come DAZN has Triple G versus they have Triple G in all the top middleweights except for Charlo, and Triple G ain't fighting Demetrius Andrade. Canelo's moving up to fight an ESPN fighter at 175, but not fighting Demetrius Andrade. So once again, PBC, they're at least making the fights that are easy to make and big fights and branding people within the company. Top Rank, they did this for years, but the thing is, they were doing it with Pacquiao coming off a knockout to Juan Manuel Marquez and Brandon Rios coming off of a loss to Mike Alvarado in the rematch. You know, shit like that, or Chris Algieri. They were doing fights like that. You know, this is Danny Garcia is way better than Pacquiao versus Algieri at a catchweight. You know, so I like it. I don't know why Danny slept on. Like, again, after Errol Spence just fought Porter, he was in a difficult fight. Danny is a different style than Sean Porter, but Danny had close losses. His loss to Keith Thurman, his loss to Sean Porter really could have went either way. So this is a real good fight to me, you know? And like I said, people are going to complain. Motherfuckers complaining on a pay-per-view that's in January. Like, you don't have time to save up and shit. People be acting broke, and it's just funny. It's just funny to hear the selective outrage and selective criticism. To me, Errol Spence, Danny Garcia is a good fight. It's an easy fight. Danny doesn't have a belt, but he has respectable losses, just like Sean Porter. Sean Porter has a belt, or had a belt, but his 2 losses to Kell Brook and then Keith Thurman, they were respectable. It's not like he just got blown out the water and shut out. So to me, spread the love. If you're this critical on fights and certain fights make no sense and I don't want to see that shit, then let's look at Golden Boy, let's look at DAZN, let's look at Matchroom. Like, who is Kell Brook fighting? When is Kell Brook fighting? You know, why is Canelo not fighting Andrade? Why is Triple G not fighting Andrade? Let's look at Top Rank. Why is Tyson Fury back out of the Deontay Wilder 2 rematch? Right? And we know the answer. You know, people don't have it. They're building Tyson Fury like he's this mega star. He didn't do no crowd like Spence and Porter did. Spence Porter was lit. I'm in LA still. You know, 16,000 plus people. Tyson Fury comped more tickets, or Top Rank for Tyson Fury comped more tickets than they sold. And he's supposed to be the big heavyweight attraction. They need Wilder's name. They have to attach Wilder to the bill. You know, I promise you, Wilder's about to fight Luis Ortiz. They are building the brands too. Good fights. The Ortiz 2 fight, yeah, Wilder beat him, but people complained about it. They said he bought extra time to breathe and all this shit. So now he's setting the record straight, and that's part of building his brand. Luis Ortiz got a new strength and conditioning coach, my dude Larry Wade, and he's going to try to correct what he did wrong. He gave Wilder a tough-ass fight, you know? And I think that's what this is about. Building it up, brewing it up, especially with in-house when you have such a vast stable, and then, you know, make the Pacquiao Spence or Danny Garcia versus Pacquiao. You know, there's a method to the madness. That's what it appears. And like I said, I could just appreciate that they have a game plan, a running game plan of what they're trying to do with Danny Garcia and Errol Spence versus, again, Terrence Crawford is probably the best established fighter with Top Rank, and I don't even know when his next fight is or who he's fighting for sure. Meanwhile, you know, PBC with Errol Spence and Danny Garcia, they are at least telling us who they're going to be fighting likely in January, right before the Super Bowl, and it makes sense promotionally. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We Unpacked, coming to you live.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.